Hello there, my name is Andre and I'm going to show you how to get started with developing Hailer apps, specifically using the App SDK. So let's dive right into it. Here I have a cute little workspace where I'm an administrator, and if you don't have a workspace where you're an administrator, you can create a new workspace from this menu here, and then you should be all set for creating Hailer apps. So if we navigate to npmjs.com and look for @Hailer, then we will find this @Hailer create app package. And this package contains everything you need to get started. And there's also a getting started from scratch section here, which explains everything in detail. But we're just going to ignore that for today, and we'll pick this installation instruction here, and we will jump right into the terminal, where I have prepared an empty folder for this demo. So we paste this here, and it will download the scaffolding, and we can just give this a project name. Let's call it demo. And we support a few frameworks for scaffolding: vanilla JavaScript and React. And we are going to use React today. And on the React side, we also have several options here. And for this demo, we're going to use TypeScript with Hailer styles. And then we follow the instructions, cd into the demo folder, run npm install. And wait for a moment. And then we run npm run dev. So now we have started up an empty Hailer app, or almost empty Hailer app, running at localhost port 3000. So we'll just pick this one with us, copy it from there, and we jump right into Hailer. So you have to be logged into nexthailer.com and change the URL to apps, because this is kind of a hidden menu for the time being. So if there are no apps installed in your workspace, you have to go to this page through this URL. So we create a new development app, and we give this description dash, and then we paste the http://localhost port 3000 here. And you can also add an image for your app, but we'll be happy with this as it is. So as you can see, Magic Apps Limited, that's our app responding from localhost. So now we can open up this app, and we can see that it greets us with this pop-up here: app started and user loaded. And as we can see here, it has printed out my name here. So let's jump right into the code and see what it looks like. All right, so let's put this a little bit on the side here, like that will do for now. And here's the scaffolding produced by the create Hailer app command. And in the source folder, we can find the app.tsx file, which is the main file for this page. And as you can see, there's a little bit of code here, and we'll dive right into the bottom section here where React is rendering the page. So we can see here a text section where it says user first name and the user last name. And if we change something here, we can see that it will show up as soon as I save here on the left hand side in the browser. So the app seems to be working. Now it's loading for a local host, so no one else can see this app. But there's a separate command for publishing the apps, but that is not in the scope of this video. So let's look at the code a little bit. So there's a few sections here. The styling here is also listening for which theme is loaded. So if we go into Hailer and we switch from light theme to dark theme, as you can see, it follows along with this. So we can keep the light theme for now. So that's this part of the code. And up here, we are initializing this component. So we have a use effect, and we're checking that Hailer, inside, and config is set. So today we won't be using this config part, so it's actually unnecessary. But you can add configuration parameters on the Hailer side, which are sent into the app when it's loaded. But we won't need that today, so we'll just go ahead and remove that unnecessary part of the code. So here is our toast. So if we change this, we can see that if we change that, and this happens sometimes due to the quick reload. We are using the Vite setup for this, and sometimes when it reloads, this doesn't happen in production, but it happens when you're developing. So if you reload the frame, you can get the app back to running, and it doesn't happen that often, but it happens sometimes. You can just refresh the page in case that happens. So the toast was just left here as an example, so we can remove that part, and we don't need that at all. Let's clean it out a little bit. And now we have the same outside Hailer there again, but we do not need this user for the example today, so let's get rid of all that as well. So, and we actually don't need this one either. I'm assuming it will fall back to the light mode. Let's see what happens. Will it work or not? Undefined, yes. All right, so let's get rid of this part here as well. So remove the unnecessary parts. Okay, so what we're going to try to do now is to actually read some data from Hailer. So I've set up a small example workflow here with places to visit, and it's a Kanban, so I can move these around if I want to. And as you can see, they update here, and if you don't have a workspace or workflow, you can easily create one from this menu here. You can create one from a template, or just click on make custom here to make something from scratch on your own. So we see this is working, and now we want to get a hold of these cards here inside our application. So let's start. If we're the app is loaded and Hailer is set and inside is set, then we know that the application is ready to do something, and we can talk to the Hailer API. So we start with Hailer, and we want to find the workflow, and we find the list command, and let's move this to a separate function, not like that. Thank you. So const list is actually an async function. And inside that function, we'll try to see what we will get from this list command. So we'll await that and say list, and we'll just go ahead and console log that to see what it contains. So let's jump in here and look in the console. Now we're gonna clear out what there was from before, and now we need to jump into the app. And now we have this list here, and it contains information here. Let's look for the name. So name places, there's only one workflow here currently, but we will future-proof this and try to filter out the workflow with the name places. So we take that with us, and we want to pick that out. We say can create a state. Places, workflow, set places workflow, and use state, and we can find the typings here as well. So that's going to be a workflow, and we get the list, and we just find the workflow dot name. If that matches places, then we'll pick that one. And of course we won't do that, but we use the set workflow function like that. And of course we might end up with undefined there, and that's fine. So hello world, here we want to like show something interesting, so we can show places workflow and something from here. Well, description. There's probably no description, but we can go ahead and change that as well. So now we'll reload the frame and see if it works. It doesn't seem to work. We get our list. So far so good. That seems to be working. So the list, find workflow name, places. Something is not right. So we get to here, but places is apparently, well, if there's no description, it's probably because it's empty. So let's jump in here to the settings and write a description. Like so. All right, and we jump right back into our application. Oh, nice. Now it works. So now we have the description there. And now we would like to actually load the cards here, or the activities. So we have, let's see if we pick out this as a separate variable. Places. And then we set this places. And let's check that if we don't get the places, then we'll just jump out here, or maybe we'll do it like this. We find a place, workflow, we'll jump in here, and then we want to load some activities. So the cards are called activities, and now we just call this places and set places like that. Now we're going to be reading activities, activity, and we pick the Hailer app SDK definition, and we expect a list, and we initialize it to an empty list. So now we need to read some activities. So from the workflow, we get the workflow ID, and now we need to read activities. So Hailer activity list, and now it's asking us for the process ID, which is the old name for workflows. So we'll give the workflow ID. So that is places.id, and then it wants the phase ID. So now there are two phases in this activity or this workflow. So we have places to visit and been there. So maybe we want to pick this first one here, places to visit. And we can take places and phases order, and we pick the first one from there, and that will be the ID of the first one. So let's see what this returns, or we can try to set places like so. And if we don't get anything, I think it always returns a list. Maybe that's fine like that. Let's go with that so far. So now we're expecting places to have some information in it, and we can just start by adding something like places.length and see what happens now. So let's jump back into the application. So now we can see there are 13 places according to this, and that seems to match what we're seeing here. All right, let's clear the console a little bit. Okay, so now we have the places here, so let's try to list them by name, for instance. So let's make an unordered list, and then we say places, and we'll take out each place and make a list item of those, and this list item will just put the name in there so far to see, like that. So let's see what happens. Okay, seems to be quite okay. We could maybe make this into a small heading here, like so. That didn't really work, did it? Did I do something funny? Probably need to use the chakra UI components for this. Let's see if that works. Headers. Card header. Oh, maybe we'll go with that. Now I broke everything. Card header heading. This seems like heading should be something that works. All right. Well, that's excessive, but it's fine. Okay, so now we have listed all of these places by name, and now we would like maybe to be able to click to them and look at the activity card from here. So let's add a button here. We could maybe split out this so this code doesn't get too messy. And for each we make a button. I hope this will work. We just call that aside. Well, the styles isn't that, so maybe we'll try to use a chakra button instead. Let's see how that goes. Yes, that looks pretty nice. Excessive, but nice. It works perfectly for this example. All right, so now we need to attach a click function here, and we want to use Hailer again. And in the Hailer SDK, there is a UI section. And the UI section allows you to interact with some of the graphical components that exist inside of Hailer. So if we go under activity and open, this function is, it says open an activity in Hailer sidebar. And that sounds exactly like what we want to do. So it wants an activity ID, and there's some options, but they are optional, so we just give the activity ID. And now we have place.id _ID. So you can probably go ahead and close that so we can see the code a little bit better. So now if we open Zeta, for instance, so it opens up this Hailer sidebar, and we're in the right place. Everything seems to be working, and that's in the middle of somewhere. Okay, so now we can list these and we can interact with Hailer. And what if we want to create a new place? So then we make a new button here. Button, new place. And here we got the new place button, really nicely styled. And on click, find that from there. And as usual, we just go start with Hailer. And now we want to use the Hailer UI again to create a new activity. So we go into the UI section and activity, create, and it wants to know the process ID, which again is the workflow ID. So it's the places ID, and we already have it here, so a bit lazy. We copy and paste that in there, and it's not that one, or is it? Let's see. So we are using the places workflow. That's the one. This was only a local variable here. So let's change this like so. Places workflow, and that's possibly null. So we'll try with this one. It's really unhappy. And we'll just default to an empty string if that's not there, or we can of course make this option also places workflow only if that is found or set. Then we do this. So we should probably be good like this. All right. So new place. Now this button calls the Hailer UI activity create. And let's see what that does. All right. So we can see we have the app demo workspace and the places workflow. And here we can see that the location is red because I set that as a required field. So let's find some interesting places here. We can go somewhere here, and we pick location here, Hidden Vesi. That's nice. And then we add that one there, and we leave the description empty. It's not necessary. So we added that one, but doesn't show up here on the list. So, but we can see that there are some signals here. So we could probably listen to some signals to figure out that this list has actually changed. So we jump back in here to the code, and after we have listed these, we can probably attach some listeners. So after we pick this workflow, we'll just go ahead and in here we say Hailer options signals, and this is a callback function. So it takes Hailer, let's call it signal, and that's a Hailer signal. And then this callback function, we want to test something, and that something is the signal.sig, which is the name of the signal. If that one is activity.create or signal is activity update. If this is the case, then we want to load the list again. So we just say list. And that should be it. No, it's really unhappy about this because I am doing illegal things here. So workflow list, this list is, we just call it workflows instead. So let's overwrite this. Rename. Like so, and this is not supposed to be that, this is the list function. All right, so now this is calling the list function if any of these happen. So now we save that, and now we can see hidden visual appeared here, but let's try to create a new one. And we'll pick something. This looks interesting. So we pick this one and we call it someplace and save. Wow. So now we got someplace in here, and we can reopen up the site nav from here, or we can navigate to places to visit, and we can find these here. Specific place, but it was someplace. It's the last one here. All right. Now, if we go into the app, and we can maybe open up Hailer in another tab as well. So let's see. And let's go into the activities from here. So if we move some activities here, they should disappear from the list. So yes, that worked. Bring them on. We'll move that one over to being there. So now we're slowly moving things from the list, and it seems to be updating nicely. But I've never been there, so I take it back. Yes, seems to be working quite nicely. All right, I think that is it for this demo. There's probably going to be follow-up videos about this. Maybe next up we could start filtering activities or doing something more interesting with them. But this video has just been to show you how to get started, and I hope it feels nice and easy to get started. Of course, you probably will style your apps a little bit nicer than I have, but this works well enough. Thank you, and hope to see you soon again.